Before this story begins, answer me one thing: if your husband stopped loving you, would you have the courage to walk away? Tell me in the comments where you're reading this. Mark said he'd divorce you after my baby is born. But honestly, that's too long. I thought I might as well just tell you now. Mark doesn't love you anymore. Lisa, why don't you take the initiative and leave him? I stared at the pregnant woman standing at my door, stunned into silence. Before I could react, she suddenly leaned backward dramatically. Lisa, I know you don't like me, but you can't hurt my baby. Right then, my husband Mark rushed in. He ran straight to catch Chloe, then turned and yelled at me, Lisa, apologize. Mark, I tried to explain. Don't even try to lie. His voice was cold, completely devoid of the warmth a husband should have. Chloe is carrying my child. You talk to her like that, what are you trying to do? My fingers curled into my palms, nails cutting into skin. He didn't even ask if I was okay. He didn't even question her performance for a second. Chloe lifted her face, voice weak and trembling. Lisa, I know you hate me, but I never meant to take everything from you. I suddenly laughed, a sharp, cold sound that even startled myself. Well, I said softly, you succeeded. Mark frowned. Lisa, you're being hysterical. Go apologize. I lifted my head, feeling something inside me go cold. Sure, but first, tell me, when exactly did you start cheating on me? Mark's expression darkened instantly. Lisa, do you have to be so sensitive? He scolded me like a child throwing a tantrum. We've been married for years. What have you ever given me? You're always working, and when you're home, you're cold as ice. I'm not a refrigerator, I can't cool myself down. Chloe nestled into his arms, quietly sobbing. Mark, don't blame Lisa, it's my fault. I was the one who approached you first. Mark wrapped a protective arm around her. Don't say that. If Lisa knew how to be a wife, I wouldn't have, whatever. Forget it. That sentence hit me harder than a slap. So because I wasn't warm enough, he felt justified looking elsewhere? Mark, are you telling me your cheating is my fault? Mark rubbed his temples impatiently. Don't twist my words. I'm just telling the truth. You're cold, controlling, and suffocating to live with. I froze. Controlling? I worked overtime every night to support this family, to support him, and in his eyes, that was controlling. Chloe trembled delicately. Lisa, I know you love Mark, but love shouldn't be a burden. If you pressure a man too much, he'll leave. In that moment, something in my world cracked open. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Mark's voice cut through sharply. Lisa, I'll say it one last time, apologize. My eyes burned, but I forced myself not to cry. Mark, I whispered, you really never cease to amaze me. Mark saw that I still refused to apologize. His breathing grew harsher, like my stubbornness disappointed him beyond repair. Lisa, look at yourself. He snapped. You're upsetting Chloe. She's carrying my baby. I can't let her get emotional. He paused, as if choosing his words carefully. Then he lifted his eyes and announced coldly, starting tonight, you're moving out. Once her pregnancy stabilizes, you can come back. I stared at him, thinking I must have misheard. You want me to move out? Chloe immediately chimed in, her voice soft and pitiful. Oh Mark, don't say that. It's so sad for Lisa to live alone outside, but Mark squeezed her hand. Don't worry about her. She's an adult, she'll manage. You are the one carrying my child. You're the most important. He didn't even glance at me, as if I had never been important, not even once. You want me to step aside for her. Is that it? I asked quietly. This isn't stepping aside. Mark growled, annoyed. You're affecting her rest. She's been vomiting for days. Any emotional fluctuation might make her faint. You shouted at her so loudly earlier she almost fell. I laughed. Cold. Sharp. She clearly, shut up. Mark roared. I don't want to hear another excuse from you. The room froze. He took a deep breath, then spat out the final command, Lisa, I don't want to argue anymore. Pack your things. You're leaving tonight. My chest felt like someone had driven a hammer into it. Mark went downstairs to get Chloe's prenatal supplements, leaving only me and her in the living room. A second ago she was as fragile as glass in the wind. But the moment the door clicked shut, she slowly straightened up, leaned against the couch, and stroked her slightly rounded belly with a triumphant smile. Lisa, Don't blame Mark, she said sweetly, each word a blade. Your marriage was never going to last anyway. I stared at her, my chest tightening. What are you trying to say? She smirked, savoring something in her mind. Mark told me you're too dominating. He can barely breathe around you. You know what he says whenever he's with me? That being with me finally feels relaxing. My fingers went cold. And, she added casually, you think I'm his first affair? Oh no. He told me he fell for some girl in your second year of marriage. She just didn't want to be the other woman. My mind went blank. What are you talking about? She shrugged. Believe it or not, Mark told me himself. She leaned in, lowering her voice to a taunting whisper, and do you know why you must move out tonight? Not because of me. It's because he doesn't want me sleeping alone. My breath caught violently. Seeing my face, Chloe laughed openly. No fear, no shame. Don't look at me like that. I'm only telling you what Mark doesn't have the guts to say. You're already unnecessary. My fists clenched so tightly the skin went white. Just then, the door lock clicked again. Chloe instantly switched back to her fragile persona, even squeezing out a tear. The moment Mark walked in, she whimpered, Mark. I think Lisa doesn't like me, Lisa. Mark's face darkened immediately. What did you do to her now? For the first time, I said nothing, because more than defending myself, I suddenly wanted to see just how far they would go. Chloe's watery eyes made Mark explode completely. Lisa, I gave you a chance. He threw down the bag in his hand and stormed to the bedroom. I stayed where I was. A few seconds later, bang, the sound of the closet door being ripped open. What are you doing? I finally asked. Mark dragged a suitcase out and slammed it onto the ground like he was taking out the trash. You don't want to leave on your own? He sneered. Fine, I'll help you. Chloe stood nearby, pretending to be scared. Mark, don't, she'll be sad. Mark stroked her hair tenderly. Don't worry. She should have moved out long ago. Then he started tossing my clothes into the suitcase, not folding them, not caring, just wadding them up and shoving them inside. My chest tightened painfully. My hands trembled. Mark, you're humiliating me. Humiliating? He looked at me like I was ridiculous. Lisa, if you want to keep a shred of dignity, leave on your own. Don't make me do something even uglier. I stared at him. This is how you treat your wife? You're no longer the wife I want. He threw in my last coat. I just haven't filed the paperwork yet. That sentence felt like a knife straight through my chest. Chloe covered her mouth theatrically. Oh Mark, don't say that. Lisa will be heartbroken. Mark glared at me. Stop pretending to care, Chloe. Then he zipped the suitcase, dragged it to the door, and pointed out. Lisa, get out. I looked at the door where our marriage began, now the door he was using to throw me out. I didn't cry. My tears felt scorched dry. Mark snapped. What are you standing there for? Do you need me to push you out? I inhaled deeply, grabbed the suitcase handle. Mark, this is the most disgusting thing you've ever done. My voice was steady, eerily calm. Remember this day. Just leave. He waved impatiently. Go, go. The door slammed behind me. Silence swallowed everything. And only then did the first tear finally fall. I dragged my suitcase to a bench outside the apartment complex. The night wind was piercingly cold. The humiliation of being thrown out still burned in my throat, but what truly ignited something inside me was. I lowered my head and saw the keys to our home. The same keys Mark placed in my palm on our wedding day, saying, from now on, this will be our home. I had kept them carefully all these years. The little silver ring-shaped keychain was one I personally chose. Now the keys felt like a cruel joke, a reminder that I had been holding onto a door that would never open for me again. I stared at them as my fingers tightened involuntarily. The metal was icy cold at first, then warmed slightly in my grip. My chest felt impossibly heavy. What am I still holding onto? For the first time, I asked myself this question, not Mark. The wind messed up my hair, and suddenly, I laughed. Not bitterly, more like someone who had just been startled awake. All these years, I thought I was protecting my marriage, maintaining a home, but the truth was, I had been clinging to someone who didn't love me, terrified of falling. But I'd already fallen this hard, what was left to be afraid of? I loosened my hand at last. The keys dropped into my palm with a soft metallic chime. A sharp ache tore through my chest, yet somehow, I could breathe again. I stood up and exhaled a long breath. Lisa, from now on, you're on your own. I stood under the streetlight, gripping my suitcase, eyes dry and burning. The night wind kept blowing, but I didn't want to move, as if taking a single step would make all my emotions spill out at once. Just then, a shadow stopped in front of me. "Excuse me, are you okay?" A woman stood there, around early 30s, dressed in office attire, holding a takeout bag. She didn't glance and walk away like others had. She paused and looked at me carefully. Seriously, I wanted to say I'm fine, but the words wouldn't come. All I could manage was a rough, hoarse sound. She pulled out a tissue and handed it to me. "You've got tear marks on your face." I froze. So my tears hadn't stopped, they had just been dried by the wind. My hand trembled slightly as I took the tissue. "Thank you," she asked softly. "Do you want me to call a cab? Or, do you have somewhere to go?" My lips moved, but the truth finally fell out. No. That single word emptied me and filled me at the same time. It was the first moment I admitted I really had nowhere to go. No excuses. No pretending. No defending Mark anymore. The woman frowned, not out of annoyance, but concern. "In that case," she said, pointing toward a convenience store nearby, "there's heating inside. Come sit with me for a bit. At least give yourself a place to breathe." I stared at her. A complete stranger, yet more considerate than my own husband. I nodded slowly, and the knot in my throat loosened just enough to whisper, "Thank you, truly." She gave me a gentle smile. "No one deserves to be treated like that. You know?" Her words hit me like a jolt, like a key unlocking the tightest, darkest part of my heart. Being treated that way wasn't something I deserved. We went inside the convenience store. The warm air wrapped around me instantly, and I felt like a half-drowned person being pulled out of freezing water. The woman set down her food, bought 2 hot drinks, and offered me one. "Warm your hands," she said. I wrapped my fingers around the cup. It was so warm it almost stung, but it was a comforting sting. She sat across from me, not rushing, not probing, just giving me space. Something I hadn't felt from anyone in years. After a long moment, I lowered my head and whispered, "Do you think I'm pathetic?" She laughed softly, not mocking, but with a kind of gentle disbelief. "Crying isn't pathetic. Being hurt is pathetic." She paused. "And the one doing the hurting is never you." My vision blurred instantly. I almost cried again. She looked at me tenderly. "If you want to talk, I'll listen. If you don't, that's fine too. I just don't think you should suffer alone." I inhaled shakily and said in a thin voice, "I got kicked out." She didn't gasp or criticize or ask dramatic questions. She simply nodded. "I'm listening." That simple acceptance cracked open something inside me. I thought if I just kept trying, working harder, taking care of everything, enduring everything, he'd eventually see my worth. My voice trembled. "But all he sees is what I'm not." She didn't interrupt. "I spent years working late, saving money, taking care of his parents. And he never thanked me. Not even once." A sharp breath escaped me. "And now that his mistress is pregnant, he threw me out like garbage." My voice cracked as I looked up. Am I really that worthless? For the first time, the woman's expression turned firm. "Lisa, you are not worthless." She leaned forward slightly, her voice steady and warm. "You just gave all your strength to someone who never deserved it." I froze. Her words sliced straight through the fog in my mind. My pain wasn't because I wasn't good enough. It was because I had given everything to the wrong person. The pressure sitting on my chest finally loosened. The woman studied me quietly for a moment, then smiled faintly, like she had just made a decision. "You know," she said softly, "I used to be exactly like you." I looked up. "You?" She nodded. "When my ex-husband cheated on me, I was worse off than you." I stared, stunned. She continued calmly. As if telling an old story, I blamed myself. Thought I wasn't enough. Thought if I loved him harder, he'd come back. She gave a humorless laugh. "And what did he do?" "He took his mistress to Bali, using our savings." I gasped. "He actually, and when he got back," she said dryly, "the first thing he did was tell me to move into the guest room, because we needed space." My hands tightened around the cup. The similarities made my stomach twist. She looked at me seriously. "Back then, I was like you, thinking I wasn't good enough. But later, I realized, men like that don't need you to be bad. They only need you to be soft." I froze. She continued, the more you tolerate, the bolder they get. The more you retreat, the more they push. Because in their minds, you'll never leave. You'll never fight back. They can do anything to you. Her voice dropped to a quiet, cutting tone. Lisa, they didn't overlook you. They never considered you in the first place. Something inside me finally snapped back into place. My breathing grew uneven, not from pain, but from a feeling awakening inside me. I don't want to live like that anymore. The woman smiled, gentle, approving. That, she said, is the first honest thing you've said to yourself. I was still holding the warm cup between my hands, trying to stop them from shaking, when a sudden crash sounded near the convenience store entrance. A little girl, maybe 5 or 6, had tripped over the doorframe while carrying a big box of milk. She fell backward onto the floor, and the box rolled right to my feet. Her eyes reddened immediately, but she bit her lip, refusing to cry. That stubborn little expression looked painfully familiar. Hold on, I said quickly, without thinking. I got up, went to her, and gently helped her up. Where did you get hurt? Let me see. She looked down at her scraped knee and finally whimpered. It hurts. I grabbed a packet of disinfecting wipes from the counter and cleaned her knee carefully. It'll sting a little, just a second. It'll feel better soon. The woman who'd helped me stood nearby, quietly watching without interrupting. My movements felt natural, steady, even tender. It struck me then how long it had been since I'd shown gentleness to anyone, including myself. After I finished, the little girl sniffled, leaned toward my ear, and whispered, Auntie, you're really nice. I froze. Her words hit me like a beam of light, cutting straight through the deepest, darkest corner of me. Nice? Me? Mark had called me cold, controlling, unfit to be a wife. Chloe said I was a burden, that I drove men away. Their voices had hammered at me until I questioned everything about myself. Yet a child, pure, instinctive, looked at me and saw something completely different. Warmth, gentleness, goodness. My throat tightened, and I touched the girl's head lightly. Thank you. Her mother came hurrying over, apologizing profusely. I told her it was fine. Before leaving, the girl turned back and waved enthusiastically. I waved back. As she walked away, something inside me shifted, like a small but certain crack letting in light. The woman came to stand beside me and murmured, See? You aren't the problem. You just gave the best part of yourself to someone who didn't appreciate it. I held the cooling cup of coffee in my hands, and for the first time, a fierce, unfamiliar thought rose in my chest. I deserve to be treated kindly, by better people, by a better world. A few hours later, dawn approached. I packed my new suitcase, stood in front of the house door, and took a steadying breath. No trembling, no fear. I inserted the key and turned it, but the door wasn't locked. My brows knit. Voices drifted from the living room. I didn't walk in. I stayed by the door, just slightly to the side, listening. Mark, the place where I fell yesterday still hurts. You have to stand up for me today. Chloe's voice was sickly sweet, laced with practiced fragility. Mark replied soothingly, Don't worry. I've planned everything. When Lisa gets back, we'll proceed exactly as discussed. You sit on the couch and let her embarrass herself. Chloe lowered her voice. And you'll tell her I fell because she pushed me, right? Mark chuckled coldly. Of course. Yesterday's performance worked well. A little cooperation today, and we'll push her out for good. I stood there, frozen. So Chloe's fall was deliberate, and instead of checking if she was hurt, the first thing Mark asked was, What's the next step? Chloe said sweetly, As long as you'll divorce her, I can endure anything. Mark sighed dramatically. She's weak and proud. You act pitiful, and she'll lose her temper. Trust me, she won't last long. My fingers whitened around the suitcase handle. Weak? Proud? Won't last long? Perfect. They had even predicted how I'd break. I inhaled slowly, a calm so sharp it felt like ice spreading through me. Then I pushed the door open. Hard. The bang echoed across the living room. Both of them jerked around, faces draining of color, like thieves caught mid-crime. Chloe scrambled backward, clutching her belly. Lisa, please, don't get upset. I didn't even look at her. I locked eyes with Mark. He froze, mouth half open, face whitening. Lisa? Why are you? How long have you been? I smiled. a smile with no warmth at all. Go on, I said softly. Why did you stop? Weren't you planning to force me out? The room went dead still. For the first time, I realized I wasn't the one who was afraid. They were. The air in the living room was stretched tight as a wire. Mark's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. Chloe huddled in the corner of the couch, hands protectively over her belly, eyes wide with fake fear. I didn't give them a chance to speak. Dragging my suitcase behind me, I walked slowly into the living room, each step crushing a piece of the old, timid version of myself. You want me gone? My voice was steady, almost calm. Fine. I'll leave today. Mark flinched. Lisa, it's not what you think. I lifted a hand, silencing him without a word. But I let the word hang, then met their eyes. I'm taking everything that belongs to me. All of it. Mark's brows snapped together. What do you mean your things? I walked straight to the study and pushed the door open. My documents, my design drafts, my contracts, my mother's jewelry box, everything I'd built, earned, or inherited was still right where I'd left it. I turned to face him. My ID, my work files, my design portfolios, my contracts, my mother's keepsakes, and every cent I earned these past years. Mark's face shifted. Lisa, don't start this. Those things were stored in our home. That makes them marital property. I laughed. A sharp, humorless laugh. Oh, so my mother's belongings are marital property too? Mark's jaw clenched. And my design drafts. I continued. The ones you used to win awards? The ones that helped you get promoted? You'll be returning those as well. His eyes widened. Chloe piped up weakly. Lisa, you're too emotional. This isn't good for the baby. I turned to her, my tone ice cold and lethal. Chloe, your acting is getting sloppy. Whether that baby is even Mark's is none of my concern. But stop using it as a shield. Her face went white instantly. Mark rushed between us. Lisa, don't go too far. Too far? I stepped closer, voice calm and clean as a blade. I'm merely taking back what's mine. I gestured at the stuffed suitcase. You two planned for me to cry, to beg, to break, right? My smile grew colder. You thought I'd collapse exactly on cue. Mark's throat bobbed. You're being dramatic. You thought wrong. I zipped the suitcase closed and pulled it with me. For the first time in years, my back was straight, my steps steady, my hands no longer shaking. I was zipping the last drawer when, my stomach, it hurts. Chloe suddenly collapsed backward onto the sofa, clutching her abdomen theatrically, voice shrill. Mark rushed to her side. Chloe, what's wrong? Did Lisa stress you out again? Are you? Before he could finish, I calmly closed the suitcase zipper and looked up. Mark. My tone was flat. Her timing is impressive. This is the second time she's managed to fall so precisely. Chloe's expression twisted, then hastily shifted to pitiful tears. Lisa, don't be like this. I really am in pain. I folded my arms, observing her carefully. She'd grabbed the wrong place. Her hand was too low. She wasn't hunching forward like a real pregnant woman in pain. She was leaning backward. Her hand kept sliding further down, nowhere near the uterus. Mark didn't notice, but I did. I walked over, stopping right in front of her. Chloe, that spot you're holding isn't where the uterus is. Her face drained of color. Panicking, she dragged her hand upward, but too late. Mark's eyes shifted, confusion dawning. Chloe, you were holding. She yelped, voice cracking. I didn't pay attention because it hurt. Don't listen to her, I cut in. Oh really? Then tell me, when exactly did the pain start? Chloe stammered. Just now. I nodded. What a coincidence. Your stomach hurts only when you need to frame me. Mark stared at her, stunned. Chloe tried again, desperate. I swear I really fell yesterday. I leaned down, meeting her eyes with a soft, deadly smile. Before you fell, you turned around to check whether Mark was standing in the doorway. Didn't you? Her whole body jolted, betrayed herself in a single flinch. Mark stared at her, disbelief overpowering anger. You really, Mark. Listen, I only did it because. I didn't let her finish. I straightened, grabbed my suitcase. Enough. From now on, your little show doesn't need me as the fall guy. Chloe didn't dare pretend pain anymore. She curled up, silent, I rolled my suitcase toward the door when something slid off the dining table and fluttered to the floor. A sheet of paper. Face up. I picked it up. The title hit me like ice: Marital Asset Risk Plan and Property Transfer Strategy. I squatted down slowly. Opened the first page. Detailed bullet points: how to transfer joint funds into Mark's personal account, how to use a miscarriage to claim emotional damages, how to frame Lisa as mentally unstable to force her out, final objective: ensure Lisa leaves with nothing. I laughed. Quietly, dangerously. Mark finally snapped out of it and rushed over. Face gray. Lisa. Wait, I can explain. Explain? I held up the papers. Which part of this 3-page scheme would you like to explain first? Chloe shook violently. It wasn't me. It's something the lawyer suggested. A plan? I dropped the papers onto the table. You even wrote down that I'm mentally unstable in your notes. Very thorough. Mark stammered. It's not what you think. Listen, I cut him off. Voice sharp and precise. Mark, I recognize your handwriting. Half of this wasn't printed. You wrote it yourself. Mark froze. Because it was true. Only the headers were printed. The ruthless annotations were his. I inhaled slowly. Years of being ignored, used, belittled, all of it burned away into something cold and clean. So it wasn't just forcing me out. My voice didn't waver. You wanted to drain me dry, crush me, then kick me out. Mark tried grabbing my arm. Lisa, listen. I stepped back. Out of reach. Dream on. I folded the document neatly, placed it in my suitcase, not as a keepsake. As evidence. Something they never expected me to use. I lifted my chin, staring him down for the final time. You want me gone with nothing? I smiled. Too bad. I'm not letting you in. I slipped the asset transfer plan into my suitcase and zipped it shut. The click of the zipper sounded like the end of something and the beginning of something else. Lisa, don't leave. Mark suddenly panicked, rushing toward me and grabbing the suitcase handle. I turned to him slowly. Why? I asked. Afraid I'll go? His throat bobbed. I'm afraid you'll misunderstand. Those plans were just precautions, my lawyer told me. I raised an eyebrow. You're afraid I'll leave? Or afraid I'll fight back? His expression crumpled. That was the truth he didn't want to say aloud. I stepped closer, voice low and razor sharp. Let me guess, if I hadn't come back early today, you two would have gone with the plan, right? Mark's lips trembled. You'd stage another scene, make me lose my temper, collapse emotionally, then force me out with nothing. The silence in the room turned heavy. Mark tried to recover his footing. Lisa, you need to calm down. You're being irrational. Your state right now is. I laughed softly. The only dangerous person here is you. Before he could blink, I pulled the papers from my suitcase and slapped them into his chest. The sound cracked sharply in the air. Pages scattered over the floor, exposing every ugly line of his handwriting. I stared down at them. Mark, I loved you once. That's why I tolerated everything, your yelling, your coldness, your neglect. I lifted my gaze, voice turning even colder. But now you want to destroy me? You think I'll let you? Mark's eyes filled with fury and fear at the same time. Lisa, if you dare. I lifted my suitcase with one arm and shoved his reaching hand away. My voice dropped. Quiet but lethal. Mark, pray that I'm only walking away today. He froze. Completely. I stepped closer until my eyes were level with his. Because starting now, you're going to learn something new about me. I leaned in slightly. That the person you thought you could manipulate is colder, smarter, and far more done with you than you ever expected. I didn't wait for his response. I dragged my suitcase past him. He lunged forward, trying to block me. Lisa, you can't leave. You're my wife. You can't. I didn't even slow down. He called out again, frantic. Lisa, come back. You can't just. The door slammed behind me. Just like that, I shut out all the noise, all the lies, all the years of shrinking myself to fit his world. Inside the apartment, Mark and Chloe were left with nothing but panic and the echo of the door I'd finally closed on them. And as for me, for the first time ever, I was finally walking toward a life of my own. I left the apartment complex and immediately got into a taxi. Bank headquarters. Please, I said. My voice was calm, too calm. When I arrived, I headed straight to the counter, placed my debit card on the desk, and said, I want to transfer all funds out of this account. Every cent. Right now. The teller blinked, startled by my tone, then quickly recovered and started processing it. I handed over my ID. And please be fast. My husband might come in any minute to check the account. She nodded and started typing. The number on the screen was large. This was everything I'd saved these past years, every project bonus, every overtime pay, every deposit. Money Mark thought was safe in our joint account. Money he thought he could siphon away at the right moment. He always assumed I was careless with finances, that I didn't pay attention, that I couldn't possibly be smart enough to protect myself. He forgot one thing: I was the one who earned it. My heart ticked with the countdown on the transfer. 3, 2, 1. Transfer successful. Right then, my phone rang. Mark, calling, of course. A slow smile spread across my lips as I pressed accept. The moment the line connected, Mark's voice exploded. Lisa, what the hell did you do? $30,000 just disappeared from our account. Where did you transfer it? Answer me. I held the phone slightly away from my ear. His screaming was loud enough to crack glass. Then I brought it back, my voice smooth as silk. I transferred my money to my account. He sputtered like someone drowning. That's our marital property. You can't just. I cut him off with a laugh. Marital property? Funny. Because yesterday, in your plan to kick me out, you seemed pretty convinced I owned nothing. Mark went silent. I continued, every word like a scalpel. Your plan was detailed. Mark, transfer the funds. Drive me crazy. Force me to leave with nothing. I paused. So I simply followed your plan, only I changed the target. Mark's voice broke into a panicked roar. Lisa, you can't turn this around on me. You can't attack me like this. This is illegal. You can't. I hung up. The clean beep of the disconnected call felt like cutting a cord that had been strangling me for years. I slid the phone back into my bag, walked out of the bank, and stepped into the sunlight. For the first time in a long time, it didn't feel harsh. It felt freeing. This time, I wasn't running away. I was ending something, on my terms. Mark called again, and again, and again. I didn't answer a single call. I headed to the nearest mobile provider. The clerk looked up politely. Hi, how can I help you? I placed my ID in front of her. I want a new number. Deactivate my old SIM card. Immediately, she blinked at me. Something in my expression must have told her not to ask questions. She processed it quickly. Within minutes, my old number was gone. My new number activated. Mark could call until his voice went hoarse. He'd only hear, the number you have dialed is no longer in service. I inserted the new SIM card into my phone, powered it on, a completely clean call history. No messages, no chains tying me to him. Next, I opened every app, email, cloud photos, location sharing, joint calendars, family albums. I logged out of everything, reset passwords, revoked permissions, cleared synced data. Every tap felt like cutting another invisible chain. Finally, I opened my contacts. There it was, Mark. I stared at his name for a few seconds, then pressed delete contact. The moment his name vanished from my phone, the world felt silent, peaceful. I whispered, goodbye, Mark. Your show. I'm never watching it again. I tossed the old SIM card into the trash can. It made a clean, sharp sound as it hit plastic. A door closing, another opening. From today on, Mark could no longer find me, contact me, manipulate me, threaten me, or twist my reality. He had lost access to me permanently. I stepped outside into the bright afternoon light. For the first time, I felt like I could breathe without his shadow over me. My new number glowed on my screen, empty, clean, a blank slate, just like my new life. Mark completely lost his mind. He paced around the empty apartment like a caged animal, calling my old number again and again. But all he heard was, the number you have dialed is no longer in service. That robotic voice struck him like a slap each time. Chloe sat on the sofa, pale. Mark, you're scaring me. She didn't really disappear. Did she? Mark kicked over the coffee table. Of course she didn't disappear. She can't. She wouldn't dare leave. She didn't even take her. He suddenly stopped. Her suitcase was gone. His breath hitched. He stormed out into the hallway, banging on neighbors' doors. Did you see Lisa? Has she come back? Where did she go? A neighbor frowned. Why would she come back here? After the way you yelled last night? The neighbor slammed the door. Mark's face twisted. The whole day, he tried everything: calls, emails, messages, every method he knew. Every attempt failed. Emails bounced back. Messages couldn't be delivered. Her cloud album was locked. Her photo sharing was gone. Her passwords reset. Her emergency contacts removed. The Lisa he thought he owned had vanished so completely it terrified him. Chloe's voice trembled. How could she disappear so thoroughly? She used to forget her banking password all the time. Mark stopped pacing. A name flashed in his mind. That woman. It must be that woman helping her. That doctor. He remembered the woman who had stayed with Lisa that night. The calm eyes. The steady voice. The way she looked at him like she saw right through him. He grit his teeth. None of this was supposed to happen. Lisa wasn't supposed to leave. She wasn't supposed to fight back. She wasn't supposed to become someone he couldn't control. She was supposed to break. Because broken people stay. But she didn't break. She walked away and slammed the door behind her. And that terrified him more than anything he'd planned. Meanwhile, across the city, I checked into a small motel with my new phone number. The room was tiny. But it was quiet. Peaceful. No shouting. No accusations. No manipulation. No lies dripping from someone else's lips. For the first time in forever, I existed without being judged or monitored. I washed my face, blew my hair dry, and looked in the mirror. The woman staring back at me wasn't the trembling, humiliated wife from last night. Her eyes were clearer, shoulders straighter. A calmness settled over her that felt foreign but right. I opened the curtains. The city lights flickered outside, cars, windows, neon signs, every one of them humming with the same message: your life starts now. The next morning, I woke early. I washed up, tied my hair back, and put on a clean white blouse and dark slacks, simple, but sharp. The mirror showed a woman who looked steady, clear-minded, grounded. As I scrolled through my new phone, a job posting popped up: administrative assistant, walk-in interviews today only. I took a breath, grabbed my bag, and headed straight for the subway. The company lobby was buzzing with applicants. Some reviewed resumes, others whispered through interview answers. I took a seat by the window, reading through the job requirements. I felt nervous, not terrified, but aware that this was the first step of my new life. Just then, a calm yet familiar voice came from beside me. You're here to apply too? I looked up, and there she was. Her. The woman who handed me tissues. The woman who walked me to the convenience store. The woman who sat with me when the world shattered. Today she wore a clean, fitted suit. Professional, graceful, composed. I blinked. It's you. What a coincidence. She smiled quietly. Coincidence? I had a feeling you'd show up. Before I could question that, the office door opened. The interviewer called out, "Next, Lisa." The woman nodded toward the door. "Go on. You've got this." And somehow, her words steadied me completely. Inside, the interviewer flipped through my resume. "You've done administrative work before?" "Yes." My tone was calm. I managed schedules, coordinated staff, handled documentation, and prepared meeting materials. "How soon can you start?" he asked. "Immediately." He looked up, slightly impressed. "Good. You're more capable than your resume suggests." I thanked him, bowed politely, and walked out. She was waiting for me. "How'd it go?" "Better than expected," I said with a small smile. "I think I'm finding my way again." She nodded with that warm, steady gaze of hers. "You're stronger than you think." Then, with a soft smile, she added, "Lisa, we'll be seeing each other again soon." I paused. "You know that?" She simply winked. "Focus on living well first." Then she turned and left, calm, confident, mysterious. For the first time, I didn't find it strange, just comforting, like she was a sign sent at exactly the right time. A few days later, I received an official message: "Congratulations, Lisa. You've been hired as the department assistant." That afternoon, walking home from work, streetlights lighting the path, I felt something in my chest finally settle. I thought of the woman I was standing outside the house, accused, insulted, humiliated, and the woman I was now, standing tall under a street lamp, breathing freely, no one yelling, no one controlling, no one telling me my worth. I had climbed out, bit by bit, step by painful step, and now, I was free. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.